Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus once again. I'm thinking about you, and I'm getting ready to prepare this post for you. And the thought crossed my mind is, what makes me think that I'm saying anything that's so important enough that I can be excited about it and making this post thinking that when you run across it, that you'll be happy to, to get a chance to view it. And from it, you would benefit from it. So everything would have been work. But what would make me think that? I guess it's just this hope that a person has that the work that you do is really not in vain. You know that it's a necessity and you are in a position to be given it and you are given it. You're not complaining anything about giving it. But sometimes it kind of gets you when the results don't come back like you want them to. And yet there are times that you can only do what you can do. And the other time, the rest of it is in the hands of someone else or something else has got to be done that's outside of my purview. And so, or any of our purview. And so, all we can do is the best we can. And when we've done that, it's amazing. Here, I'm saying these things to you, ladies and gentlemen, because if you notice, I'm a baby boomer. You know, a baby boomer? I've been around for a while. And I mention that to you because as a very young man, I used to wonder why things were like they were. And it didn't make too much sense to me. And then I went to the spiritual side, because you go to church all the time. And I listened to the sermons, learning the message, getting all of this that's in the Bible. And depending upon whoever's bringing the message, I'm absorbing it, getting it all in. Then I'm watching life 6 days of the week. 6 days of the week, another day listening to the messages and the sermons. Another day, 6 days of the week. And I'm seeing all of this stuff and it's so confusing. Because on the one side you see something that is just wrong. That's what you're basically taught. This is the world. Yeah. And it's wrong. What they really make say that make you think it's wrong is what? Well, is it that people party, they drink, and they gamble, and they dance, and they go out? That's wait a minute, gotta be more than that. Maybe they lie a lot, and maybe they cheat, ooh, and maybe they deceive, ooh, and maybe they terrorize, and maybe they engage themselves in hatred and bigotry and racism. Ooh, wow. Maybe that's what they call the world. But then on the other side, the spiritual side, where all the love is supposed to be and the power. And that power that's so fantastic now that it's in us is, oh boy, we are some powerful people now because we are born again. And we get excited about what God has done for us. And we shout about it, dance about it. And then next day, Monday comes around. And we go back to routine. Everything that's set up to invalidate everything that Sunday was about. And now our hands are to the plow of assisting in carrying forward that agenda. And we don't understand why we get no place. It's because we have been denied so much of those who really know the power. I remember back in the 60s, I know that once of us from the South, there was a preacher that came along by the name of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who talked about God a lot, talked about Jesus a lot, talked about the Constitution, talked about the law, talked about what was right, talked about what was wrong. And some people gravitated toward a movement that was designed by some of the organizations around to draw attention to some of the pain and suffering that people were going through. And they wanted Dr. King to be a spokesman. But you know the history of how that thing goes. But my point of it is that through that leadership, God got a real good representation. And the people came out of the churches because they themselves had to be associated with something like that. Because if they weren't, then it made the movement sitting up in the buildings mean nothing. Just sitting up there in the building. So they had to pretend at least that they were a part of the action. So they came out there and got in it. So my point, ladies and gentlemen, saying this, is that you have to plan for things. I'm speaking to you now as one who's come outside of the box. And I'm trying to say some things. You have to plan. Plan has value, whether you know it or not. And plan also means that you got to engage purpose. You're planning for a purpose to achieve something in particular. A lot of times people say, well, you know, some things just happen. No, the good things of life don't just happen. Sometimes they do. Like a miracle, yeah. But, you know, like if you make a Ford, the Ford people, they made a Ford car. They got that little blueprint up. And no care how many names and associations might be with Ford, there are going to be some major components that's essentially necessary for a car to be called a Ford. So you got a plan for that. You got a blueprint for that. So same thing for a Chevy. You got a plan for it. You got a blueprint for it. And whatever other associates might be attached to it, the basic components that be essentially necessary for it to be called a Chevy. And so on for a Benz, a Maserati, any other car, you got to have a plan, and a plan that works for things. You know, when the earth was put together, you have to admit, whether you want to or not, that a plan had to be established. Where the hills and the valleys were going to be. You know, where the mountains, where the rivers and the seas were going to be. Where the fruits and vegetables were going to be. Where had to be a plan for all of this. Had to be a plan for human creation. Having to do that, you got to think about survival and responsibilities. Then when you are thinking about all of this planning, you have to, and you'd be wise if you would, realize that there is a plan that allows for poverty to exist. There's a plan that permits and allows for crime and violence. This doesn't just happen. There's a plan that calls for hatred, for racism, for bigotry. Oh, my friends, there's a plan for all of this, for lying. There's a plan for cheating. These things don't just happen. There's a plan for killing. There's a plan for war. And if there's a plan for all of these kinds of things, there must be a plan for heaven on earth. Heaven here in America. There's a plan for peace. There are certain things you put together that's going to be absolutely necessary to get peace. There are going to be some things, as I mentioned earlier, that if you do it, you're going to get some crime. There are some things that if you do, you're going to get some poverty. There are some things that if you do, you carry forward. There's going to be some turmoil. There's going to be some terrorism. There's going to be some war. They are things that's essentially necessary if you want prosperity for all people. There's a plan for that. There's a plan. It's not just going to happen. There's a plan for freedom. I want you to know, and I'm surprised that all of us baby boomers don't know that. But at the same time, I understand why we don't. I am just saying that it is time we step outside of the box. I'm stepping outside of the box. I know many of you are already outside of the box. But we got to not just be outside of the box. I'm trying to draw you where I have come from. I'm coming from a spiritual sense. I'm coming from a power that I have learned that exists, that is more powerful than any humankind I've ever ran across. And by my understanding of the compilation of mankind, they can't even measure up to the power I have seen from some source that I could not see, couldn't touch, couldn't feel, but the evidence was there to substantiate the fact that we all, human beings, are just, hey, we are really helpless, and we don't even know it. We are really helpless compared. And yet, the evidence of that gave me an understanding of how important my life was. Even though it caught me at a time when I was throwing my life away, not that I intended to, but I was doing something that was so dumb that was going to equal, was going to end. But something saw it and grabbed it and said, not today. He gave it back to me. And gave it back to me in such a way that I understood that it wasn't me. Gave it back to me in such a way that I understood that it wasn't you or you or you. Didn't know where it came from, but I knew right then and there that it was, because I am. And I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that was love. And as that love was there for me, then I have to be in appreciation for that, to be love unto each and every last one of you. So I want you to know that when we start talking about freedom and joy, it doesn't just happen. There's a plan for it. Most of you don't know what that plan is. I know you don't. Nobody's taught you plans about that kind of stuff. They tell you plans that engages you and indulges you in stuff that is important to them. That one of the side effects is all of the crime, the violence, the lying, all of these things come as a result of that. And they can't tell you about what it is the plans are for the making of your dreams to come true, because they don't know it. But I have been blessed, and I'm here to say to everybody, I'm here to say to the whole world, that all of this stuff, this killing, this wars, wherever they might be, whatever kind of armaments you got, your planes, your bombs, your missiles, your ships, wherever they are, instruments of war all over the land, all over the earth, they represent one thing: anti-God. They represent a representation of a fake God, built upon the ability to force others to comply to rules and regulations that have been set to establish them as the power. Sometimes it falls under dictatorship, sometimes it falls under democracy, sometimes it falls under isms of all sorts. And none of them produce you, the people, what you were designed to receive from the beginning of time: heaven on earth. So I say to you, ladies and gentlemen, yes, we have allowed ourselves from the beginning of time up till now to be right here. And since we are here, it's going to take some love to see us through this moment. Because those who actually walk into the light of love cannot go back into darkness. You're talking about sticking your head in the sand. There's nothing like knowing the truth but being afraid to represent the truth. Are you so hungry for what you were getting back there in the city of darkness that you choose to go back there and engage in that in the hope that maybe somebody else might come along and free you? It ain't gonna happen that way. Every last one of you are going to be and are responsible for your own freedom. You are responsible for your own joy. You are responsible for your own life. The benefit is that since there's so many of us, you don't have to do much in your responsibility. There's just a little bit that you have to do, and it is that part that gives you your greatest joy, and everything else is just cream on the top, and allowing you the freedom to engage yourself to be what it is that you were created to be. And there is nothing on earth any better than that. And I say that to all of the oppressors. I say that to all of the slaves. I say that because this is what I have learned in my many years on this earth. I've been just like you, so I can't condemn you. Lord knows I can't condemn you. You're a small fry compared to where I've been. But it's where I've been that gives me the authority to stand before you and tell you, hey, you ain't got nothing going. The devil is much bigger than all of you. And the devil got some more stuff stored up for you. And that which you want, that which you go to church and you sometimes go up to the pulpit and ask the preacher to pray for you. You don't ask him to pray for these kinds of things that you're going through. You ask him to deliver you, that God will deliver you. When God is ready to deliver you, but you are expecting it to be a miracle. It's not a miracle for everybody. The miracle is just to remind someone that there is a God. And by that information, that one turns around and come back into this darkness and start giving you the message. And when you start listening to one that's being led by the Spirit of God, you open up yourself to receive the Spirit, and by that power are you raised. Wow. So what I'm saying to you is that right now you put your hands in the powerful people that have turned you into slaves. You got to retrieve that power. And not to give it to somebody else, but to take it and use it for yourself. Be your own representative. Know that you are not settling for anything that would take any of your joy. You're not going for anything that would rob you of any of your peace. You're not going to go for that. You're just not. Now, they did it, but they abused you, but you're not going for anything that would rob you of your basic rights that comes from the power that created all of this. No, you're not going to go for it. You are now in the light. And that's everybody that's in the light. You're not going for that stuff. You're not going to be a slave for anybody else. Now, the organization of it is, and when you go to the polls to vote in November, December, when you go to the polls to vote in November of 2020, remember, cast your vote for Eddie Marcus. Will not be on the ballot. What I will be, you have to write my name in, a write-in. And what you do by so doing is saying that you are reclaiming your right to be your own representative. And that is basically what this is all about. Getting you to represent your own right to life. That basically means you giving an adequate participation that gives you the greatest thrill in your role in playing that part of creating heaven in the United States of America. Yes, my friends, you, all of us, giving ourselves, and as a benefit, we got heaven. My. And we walked out of darkness, and now we do everything we do. What does that basically mean? I mean, boil it down before I close for many of you. That basically means that whatever is essential for your survival will never be denied. Why? Because you will not permit it. And all of that is set in motion by the power that be, that has already provided all the resources, whatever they may be, whether they are in the earth or on the earth or above the earth, whether they are seen or unseen, they are already provided. And the master that we can't see engages us as people individually with certain participatory knowledge that will be necessary and exercised in going forward and extracting from those resources, wherever they might be, whatever it is that we the people have determined. It's kind of necessary that we deal with that and deal with this. And so we take care of business. This is what this masterful, fantastic God is all about, that we must allow to live in us. And we engage ourselves so that we will always have a career of our own choosing that give us our joy. We'll always have unlimited health care from the womb to the tomb, education, and all of these things, shelter, food, and clothing, never without, and all of the other things, infrastructure, transportation, and you name it. Nothing but a byproduct as we live our lives glorifying God through the manifestation of our imagination. And there is peace, prosperity, and freedom, and joy in our dreams being fulfilled. And there are no one slaves, there are no masters, there are no wars, there is no cheating. And ladies and gentlemen, we got to be against war. We have to be against war. All this killing, all of that. Let me say it one more time and then I'm closing. All this killing. Now you have been told that it was designed to protect you. And you believe that. No, my friends. That isn't designed to protect you. That is designed to serve the opposite effect. The only thing that can protect you is being powerfully filled with the love of God to stand for what is right. Treat everybody like you want to be treated, and do not accept any treatment other than that. And stand up for it. Stand up for it. Like, for instance, in the Congress, United States Congress right now, some people saying, well, it's not political to go on at President Trump right now. They might empower him. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. That's that dumbest stuff I ever heard. Standing for right can never be wrong if you have to even stand alone. Right will not be denied. And if you go any other ways because you don't know any better. So you talking about political. No, it ain't political. It's you don't know any better. You do what is right. And if the whole dead blasted world want to go the other way, then let them. And whatever comes out of that seed, they deserve it. Whatever comes out of that seed, they deserve it. And it takes that. It will take that to wake them up. And then maybe, just maybe, you might be able to say something to them whereby they might listen. So what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, did you get that message? You go to those polls and you decide that you're going to take care of yourself. And if you're on the right path, everything will be interconnected. And you will begin the manifestation of heaven. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.